The Shattered Alliance captain Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of the UES horizon, watching the magnificent sight of the Galactic Union's capital station growing larger through the viewport. After 25 years of membership in the Union, humanity had finally earned the right to attend the High Council sessions. This was supposed to be the proudest moment in human space exploration history. The Horizon was humanity's finest diplomatic vessel, sleek and powerful, representing everything humans had achieved since joining the galactic community. Elena had commanded this ship for 3 years, and she had never been more honored to serve. Today she was leading a fleet of 12 human ships to witness Earth's promotion to full voting status in the Union. Dr. Marcus Chen joined Elena at the observation deck, his face showing the same excitement she felt. As humanity's leading expert on alien cultures, Marcus had spent decades preparing for this moment. He had learned 17 different alien languages and studied the customs of 43 species within the Union. "Captain, this is incredible," Marcus said, pointing at the massive station ahead. "That structure houses representatives from over 200 worlds, and now humanity gets to be part of the decision-making process." Elena nodded, feeling pride swell in her chest. 25 years ago, when the Galactic Union first made contact with Earth, humans were considered a primitive species barely worthy of notice. The Union had offered limited membership, allowing humans to trade and learn but not to participate in major decisions. Humanity had accepted gratefully, eager to learn from these advanced civilizations. Over the years, humans had proven themselves capable and trustworthy. They had contributed to Union science projects, helped with peacekeeping missions, and even saved several Union worlds from natural disasters. Finally, the Union leadership had agreed that humanity deserved full membership. Commander Rex Hamilton approached from the communications station, his expression serious, despite the joyful occasion. Rex had been Elena's second-in-command for 2 years, and she trusted his judgment completely. He was one of the finest pilots in the human fleet and had a talent for sensing trouble before it arrived. "Captain, I'm picking up some unusual communication patterns from the station," Rex reported. "The Union ships around us are using encrypted channels that our translators can't decode. That's strange because they usually keep diplomatic channels open." Elena frowned slightly. In all her years working with Union species, she had never encountered communication problems. The Union prided itself on transparency and cooperation. Still, there might be a simple explanation. "Maybe they're discussing some surprise ceremony for us," she suggested. "Contact station control and request our docking instructions." Rex returned to his station and opened communication channels. Within moments, a familiar voice came through the speakers. It was Admiral Zephyr, a member of the crystalline Etherian species who had been Elena's primary contact within the Union for several years. "UES Horizon, this is station control. Please proceed to Docking Bay Alpha 7. A special reception. Committee is waiting for your arrival." Elena smiled at the formal tone. The Etherians were always ceremonial in their speech, especially during important events. She gave orders for the human fleet to take their assigned positions around the station, while the Horizon docked. The docking process went smoothly, and Elena led her diplomatic team through the station's corridors. The artificial gravity felt comfortable, and the air had the same mix of gases that humans preferred. The Union had always been considerate of humanity's needs, making sure human visitors could function comfortably in their facilities. The reception committee was waiting in the main diplomatic hall, just as Admiral Zephyr had promised. Representatives from 12 different Union species stood in formal arrangements, their various forms creating a colorful display of galactic diversity. Elena recognized most of them from previous meetings, and they all seemed friendly enough. Admiral Zephyr stepped forward, his crystalline body reflecting light in beautiful patterns. The Etherians communicated through these light patterns as much as through words, and Elena had learned to read the basic emotions they displayed. Today, however, the pattern seemed somehow different, more complex than usual. "Captain Vasquez, Dr. Chen, welcome to this historic occasion," Admiral Zephyr said through his translation device. "Please take your positions in the center of the hall. The ceremony will begin shortly." Elena and her team moved to the designated area, feeling honored to be the focus of such attention. Marcus was practically vibrating with excitement, his scientific mind cataloging every detail of the alien ceremony he was witnessing. But as they reached the center of the hall, something changed in the atmosphere. The alien representatives began, moving not in the celebratory manner Elena expected, but in coordinated patterns that looked almost military. Warning bells began ringing in her mind as she noticed weapons being revealed from concealed positions around the hall. Admiral Zephyr's light patterns shifted to colors Elena had never seen before, and when he spoke again, his tone was completely different. Actually, Captain Vasquez, there will be no ceremony today. Instead, we need to discuss humanity's real purpose within the Galactic Union. Elena's hand moved instinctively toward her sidearm, but she forced herself to remain calm. This could still be some kind of misunderstanding or cultural confusion. But Rex was already moving to a defensive position, his military training taking over. "What do you mean, Admiral?" Elena asked carefully. "We're here for Earth's promotion to full membership status." Admiral Zephyr's crystalline body pulsed with what Elena now recognized as amusement, but not the friendly kind. It was the cold amusement of someone who had been playing a long game and was finally ready to reveal their true intentions. "Full membership?" Zephyr said, and now other alien representatives were joining in what sounded like laughter. "Captain, you misunderstood your species' role in the Union from the very beginning. Humanity was never intended to become equal members. You were brought in as subjects for study." Helena felt ice forming in her stomach. Dr. Marcus stepped closer to her, his face pale with sudden understanding. "Study?" Marcus asked, his voice barely a whisper. "What kind of study?" Another alien representative stepped forward. This was General Korath of the reptilian saurian species, a being Elena had thought was a friend and ally to humanity. His scaled face showed no emotion as he spoke. "For 25 years, we have been observing human behavior, learning about your military capabilities, your technology development, and most importantly, your psychological weaknesses," Korath explained. "The Union identified humanity as a potential threat species shortly after first contact. Your rapid technological advancement and aggressive territorial expansion marked you as dangerous." Elena's mind raced as the implications hit her. Every cultural exchange, every technology trade, every joint mission had been part of an elaborate intelligence-gathering operation. Humanity had been sharing their secrets with beings who saw them as enemies to be neutralized. "So all of this," Elena said, gesturing around the hall, "the friendship, the cooperation, the promises of partnership, it was all lies?" Admiral Zephyr's light patterns shifted to what Elena now understood was satisfaction. Not lies exactly, more like necessary deceptions. "You see, Captain, the Galactic Union has existed for over 10,000 years. We have seen species like humanity before, young, aggressive, rapidly expanding civilizations that eventually become threats to galactic stability." Dr. Marcus found his voice, anger replacing his earlier excitement. "Species like humanity? What happened to the others?" The silence that followed was more terrifying than any threat. Elena understood immediately. The other species had been eliminated. The Union maintains peace through careful management of potential threats, General Korath explained with clinical coldness. "Sometimes this requires difficult decisions. Humanity's time as a free species is ending today." Elena's communication device suddenly burst to life with panicked voices from her fleet. Commander Hamilton's voice came through clearest. "Captain, Union ships are powering weapons and taking attack positions around our fleet. This is not a drill. We are under attack." The trap was sprung. Elena realized that while she and her diplomatic team were being detained in this hall, the Union fleet was preparing to destroy or capture every human ship in the system. But they had made one crucial mistake. They had underestimated humanity's ability to adapt and survive. Elena activated her emergency beacon, sending a coded message that every human ship would recognize. It was a simple signal that meant only one thing: Protocol 7. Fight your way out at all costs. "You made a serious error in your calculations." Elena told the assembled alien representatives, her voice steady despite the danger. You studied humanity for 25 years, but you never understood our most important characteristic. Admiral Zephyr's light pattern showed curiosity. And what would that be, Captain? We never give up. Explosions echoed through the station as the battle began outside. Elena's fleet had received her signal and was fighting back against impossible odds. The human ships were outnumbered 20-1, but they had advantages the Union didn't know about. Dr. Marcus activated his portable research equipment, which immediately began jamming the station's internal communication systems. Elena had authorized him to develop this technology years earlier, claiming it was for studying alien electronics. In reality, it was a weapon designed specifically to disrupt Union command and control systems. Rex drew his sidearm and activated a personal shield generator, another piece of technology humanity had developed in secret. The Union believed they had monitored all human technological advancement, but Earth's military had been more clever than that. Captain, Rex said, covering the hall's main entrance, we have maybe 10 minutes before Union security forces reach this level. How do we get out of here? Elena smiled grimly as she pulled out her own weapon. The same way humanity has always gotten out of impossible situations, Commander. We fight, we adapt, and we survive. The battle for humanity's freedom was just beginning, but Elena knew that the Union had made a fatal mistake. They had studied human warfare, human technology, and human psychology, but they had failed to understand the most important thing about her species. When humans were betrayed, when they were threatened with extinction, when everything they cared about was in danger, that was when they became truly dangerous. As Union security forces breached the hall doors, Elena and her team opened fire with weapons that used technology the aliens had never seen before. The fight to escape the station would be difficult, but it was only the first step in a larger plan, because while the Union had been studying humanity, humanity had been studying the Union. And Dr. Marcus had discovered something that would change everything. Humanity was not the only species the Union had marked for elimination. There were others, hidden throughout the galaxy, waiting for someone to unite them against their oppressors. The age of human submission was ending. The age of liberation was about to begin. The reckoning arrives. 6 months after the betrayal at Union Station, Admiral Sarah Thompson stood in the war room of Earth's most secret military facility, deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. The holographic display showed star charts covering half the galaxy, with red indicators marking Union military installations and green indicators showing the locations of oppressed species that humanity had secretly contacted. Elena Vasquez, now promoted to Admiral after her heroic escape from Union Station, stood beside Thompson reviewing the final details of Operation Liberation. The plan had taken months to develop and represented the largest military undertaking in human history. The preliminary strikes begin in 6 hours, Elena reported. 12 human task forces will simultaneously hit Union supply depots, communication, relays, and military outposts across 17 star systems. While they're dealing with that chaos, our main assault fleet will jump directly to their capital system. Admiral Thompson nodded, studying the tactical projections. Earth's military had undergone massive changes since the Union's betrayal was revealed. Secret research projects that had been hidden for decades were finally activated. Weapons systems that officially didn't exist were being deployed across the galaxy. Dr. Marcus Chen entered the war room carrying a data pad filled with intelligence reports. His role had evolved from cultural expert to head of alien relations for the growing Liberation Coalition. Over the past 6 months, he had made contact with 47 different species that the Union had either oppressed or marked for future elimination. Admiral, I have confirmation from our coalition partners, Marcus announced. The Kandorian Defense Force will engage Union positions in the Outer Rim at the same time as our strikes. The Nexari Underground has agreed to sabotage Union installations in their home system. Even the pacifist Ilari are providing intelligence support. Elena smiled at this news. The Union's greatest weakness was their own arrogance. For thousands of years they had maintained control through fear and deception, never imagining that their victims might eventually unite against them. Humanity had become the catalyst that brought these oppressed peoples together. Commander Rex Hamilton joined the group, wearing the uniform of Earth's new Special Operations Command. He had spent the last 6 months training human pilots in combat techniques that incorporated both traditional human tactics and new technologies inspired by studying Union weaknesses. All strike teams are ready for deployment, Rex reported. The Ghost Squadron is particularly eager to test their new stealth fighters. The Union won't see them coming until it's too late. The Ghost Squadron represented one of humanity's greatest technological achievements since the betrayal. Using principles learned from studying Union sensor technology, human engineers had developed spacecraft that were completely invisible to alien detection systems. These ships could strike without warning and disappear before the enemy could respond. Admiral Thompson activated the main communication system, opening channels to fleet commanders throughout human space and to coalition allies across the galaxy. This would be the largest coordinated military action in galactic history, involving over 2 million personnel from dozens of different species. "This is Admiral Thompson to all Liberation Coalition forces," she began, her voice carrying across light years of space. "Today, we begin the fight to free our galaxy from 10,000 years of Union tyranny. Every species represented in this coalition has suffered under their rule. Today, we show them that oppression cannot last forever." Elena stepped forward to address the human forces specifically. "To all Earth ships and personnel, remember why we fight today. 6 months ago, we learned that beings we trusted as friends saw us as nothing more than laboratory animals to be studied and eventually destroyed. They made one crucial error. They underestimated what happens when you threaten humanity's survival." The countdown began, and across dozens of star systems, Liberation Coalition forces prepared for battle. In hidden bases throughout the galaxy, ships that had been disguised as cargo vessels or research platforms suddenly revealed their true nature as advanced warships. The first strikes hit Union positions exactly as planned. 12 human task forces appeared simultaneously in different systems, their Ghost Squadron fighters invisible to Union sensors until they opened fire. Supply depots that had supported Union operations for centuries erupted in massive explosions. Communication relays that had coordinated Union activities across the galaxy went silent. At the same time, coalition partners launched their own attacks. The Kandorians, whose homeworld had been enslaved by the Union 300 years earlier, struck with fury that had been building for generations. The Nexari, master engineers who had been forced to build Union weapons, turned their technical skills against their oppressors. But the main event was taking place in the Union's capital system, where Elena led humanity's assault fleet in a direct attack on the heart of Union power. The human fleet numbered over 300 ships, each one equipped with weapons that the Union had never encountered. Admiral Zephyr, the Etherean who had orchestrated humanity's betrayal, stood on the bridge of the Union flagship desperately, trying to coordinate a defense. His crystalline body pulsed with patterns of panic and confusion as reports flooded in from across the galaxy. "How is this possible?" he demanded of his tactical officers. "Our intelligence indicated that humanity had fewer than 50 combat-capable vessels. Where did this fleet come from?" The answer was simple but devastating. While the Union had been monitoring humanity's official military development, Earth's real military had been hidden in classified programs scattered across dozens of worlds and space stations. The ships attacking the Union capital were the products of decades of secret research and development. Elena's flagship, the UES Retribution, led the assault directly toward the Union's primary space station. The massive structure had served as the seat of galactic government for millennia, and its destruction would send a clear message that the age of Union dominance was ending. "Target their command and control centers," Elena ordered. "I want their ability to coordinate defenses crippled in the first wave." The human weapons were unlike anything the Union had faced before. Instead of the energy-based systems that most galactic civilizations used, humans had developed kinetic weapons that fired projectiles at significant fractions of light speed. These projectiles could punch through Union shields and armor as if they didn't exist. Dr. Marcus, now serving as the fleet's intelligence coordinator, monitored Union communications from his position on the Retribution's bridge. What he heard confirmed their strategy was working perfectly. "Admiral, I'm intercepting Union command transmissions," Marcus reported. "They're in complete chaos. Their commanders are requesting instructions, but the High Command can't coordinate a response. They've never faced an enemy that could strike simultaneously across such a vast area." The battle raged for 6 hours, but the outcome was decided in the first 30 minutes. Union forces had been designed to suppress individual rebellions, not to fight a coordinated war against multiple species working together. Their tactical doctrine assumed they would always have overwhelming numerical superiority and advanced warning of any threats. The Liberation Coalition had taken away both of those advantages. Union forces found themselves outnumbered in individual battles, even though they had more ships overall, because coalition forces could concentrate their attacks while Union reinforcements were too scattered to respond effectively. General Korath, the Saurian who had revealed the Union's true intentions to Elena months earlier, made one final attempt to negotiate, as his forces faced imminent destruction. "Human Admiral, this conflict serves no purpose," he transmitted to Elena's ship. "The Union maintained galactic peace for 10,000 years. Your rebellion will only bring chaos and war to countless worlds." Elena's response was broadcast not just to Korath but to every ship in the system, Union and Coalition alike. "General, the Union maintained order through fear and oppression. You eliminated entire species because you decided they were threats. That's not peace. That's tyranny with better marketing." The final assault on Union Station began as Coalition forces overwhelmed the last defensive positions. Elena led a boarding party directly to the Union's High Command Center, where the surviving Union leaders waited in what had once been a symbol of their absolute power. Admiral Zephyr stood in the center of the command chamber, his crystalline body dim with defeat. Around him, representatives of the other Union species waited to learn their fate. For the first time in thousands of years, they were no longer the ones deciding who lived and who died. "Captain Vasquez," Zephyr said, using Elena's old rank in what might have been an attempt at irony. "I suppose you've come to eliminate us just as we plan to eliminate humanity." Elena shook her head, and her response revealed the fundamental difference between humanity and the Union leadership. "Admiral, we didn't come here for revenge. We came here to stop you from destroying any more species. The killing ends today." The surrender of Union forces marked the beginning of a new era in galactic history. Over the following months, Coalition forces would liberate dozens of oppressed worlds and reveal the true scope of Union crimes against galactic civilization. Dr. Marcus led the effort to establish a new form of galactic government, one based on genuine cooperation rather than domination. Species that had been hidden or suppressed for millennia emerged to join the new Galactic Republic, bringing with them technologies and knowledge that the Union had tried to destroy. Rex Hamilton became the first commander of the Republic's new peacekeeping force, an organization designed to prevent any single species or alliance from accumulating the kind of power the Union had wielded. Admiral Thompson remained on Earth, overseeing humanity's transition from a species fighting for survival to one helping to build a better galaxy for everyone. Elena Vasquez was elected as the first president of the Galactic Republic, a position she accepted with the same dedication she had shown as a starship captain. Her first official act was to establish the Liberation Memorial, honoring all the species that had been destroyed by Union oppression and ensuring that their sacrifice would never be forgotten. The Union's betrayal had been intended to eliminate humanity before they could become a threat to galactic stability. Instead, it had transformed humans into the leaders of the greatest liberation movement in galactic history. As Elena stood on the observation deck of Republic Station, the new seat of galactic government, she reflected on how much had changed. 6 months earlier, humanity had been naive junior members of what they thought was a benevolent organization. Now they were helping to lead a galaxy-wide community based on genuine respect and cooperation. The stars looked different now. Instead of representing unknown threats or false friends, they represented worlds where freedom had replaced oppression, where diversity was celebrated rather than feared, and where species worked together as equals rather than as rulers and subjects. Humanity had proven that when faced with extinction, they would not quietly accept their fate. They would fight, they would adapt, and they would inspire others to fight alongside them. The galaxy was better for it, and the age of true galactic civilization had finally begun.